Maya Sargent, we have her now. She is staying on top of a news conference that's going to be happening soon, and it looks like you have a student with you. Tell us who you're with and what he's going to tell us.
Yes, Jade, this is Luke Holgate. I met him over at the Student Reunification Center. I just met him. He was telling me a little bit about what you experienced this morning. So if you can just run us through those events from when it first happened.
So at about 30 minutes before everything first happened, I was in the student union just grabbing food with my friend. And we walked to our class right next door in EOAS, Environmental Science, which was right next to everything. And we get a text from one of our friends saying there's an active shooter, but we're like, is it serious? We didn't know anything until we got the FSU alert, and we also got a alert from, we also got an alert on the loudspeaker. But as that happened, our environmental science professor darted out of the door, didn't even help us. So it was a bunch of about 200 kids in this lecture hall, and about 2 presenters from the sustainability department, and we were all just scared to death.
Absolutely. And tell me a little bit about what happened next. What took you to the Student Reunification Center? You got on a bus, I imagine.
Yes. So what happened is the police came in, and we all had no clue who it was. We were all scared, but it was the police. They had us put our hands up and walk over to the local classroom caraway, and we just stayed there, barricaded there for probably like an hour and a half. Then they all directed us towards the buses to come over to the Student Reunification Center.
Okay. And how are you feeling right now? It seems like a silly question.
I'm kind of shell-shocked. I've never really dealt with any of this.
You tell me you're from Pennsylvania, and there's nothing like that has happened in your memory?
Not in my memory. I'm from right outside of Philly, and even then, like, there's never been a school shooting in my area, at least since I was alive.
And I guess, how are your friends okay? Like, what have you some of those conversations involved?
Everyone's checking in on me from all over because it's not on the national news, but for all I know, all my friends are safe, all my loved ones are safe, and I'm safe, so that's all that matters.
Absolutely. And so I met Luke when we were over at the Student Reunification Center. We're seeing more students. He was with some of his friends that have been bussed over. We saw them get on the buses and then come all the way down here to the Student Reunification Center. So again, just hearing some of these live experiences really just kind of brings it home about how sort of shocking and startling this situation is.
And may I ask Luke about the first phone calls he made as he got safely to that reunification center?
Yeah, so talking about some of those first phone calls that you received, tell us a little bit about what was going through your mind, how that sort of went down.
I made sure I texted my mom and dad, made sure to let them know I was doing okay. I got calls from family friends in Tallahassee area. I'm still getting calls now, family from home, because not everyone still knows about this, but it started with some phone calls. I texted my 2 best friends and told them the whole situation. I called my one friend telling him, hey, anything comes up on national news, let me know, because I know he'd be watching. So.
And that communication that came through from FSU, what was that initially like?
So we got an FSU alert that was just giving us the rundown, definitely like an automated report saying there's an active shooter in the area, and about each 20 minutes or so, they would tell us a little bit more details, but we still don't know the entire situation.
Absolutely. And so just, again, as you can hear, really accounts that are just incredibly startling, incredibly sobering to hear, and we're still learning more information now, and still lots of unanswered questions, Jade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's certainly a terrible situation. Just one, again, you don't expect to happen at Florida State University. So talk about being taken over to the reunification center. It looked like there was a crowd of people getting on those buses. Ask Luke what that situation was like and just knowing what had just happened.
What about any of the conversations you were having on the buses on the way over here? What have some of your kind of friends been talking about? What have some of the students been talking about? What have some of those conversations sounded like?
So I actually, on the bus ride over, I saw my old English professor from last semester, and she was telling me that she tried to get as many of her students as possible. She was still with a few of them, and she did the right course of action. I talked to my friends. I had about 5 or 6 friends in the same class as me, but just because everyone was scattered, I only ended up with about 1 of them in the end. So. Conversations are all a lot of misinformation, a lot of hey, what's going on? We don't know, no one knows.
And sort of moving forward from this, what do you think that's going to look like for you and your friends?
I'm not sure. I mean, I know a bunch of people who live local are going home this weekend, and even more now. So, um, I won't lie. I texted my parents saying I just want to go home. I don't expect FSU to have classes for the rest of the semester, and I really don't.
Just something like we've been saying you never expect to hear about, something that just happens on a Thursday that it's really, really completely baffling, Jade. So we're going to still find more information. We're outside the Turnbull Centre waiting for that law enforcement press conference so we can learn more about those missing details. But for now, live outside of FSU, Maya Sargent, ABC 27. Back to you, Jade.